Thank you everyone for coming. We really appreciate that. It's a big thing to be a published author in any phase of the words, so thank you very much. I'm going to read my short story. It's called The Package. Two cones of jaundiced light pierced through the darkness ahead of the van's silhouette. Trees bowed like an honour guard towards the van as it swept past. A solitary street lamp gave flavour to the van's form. The body was more rust than paintwork, a faded sign unreadable in its moment of illumination. Back windows, black spaces of blindness. The deep rumble of the van's engine reverberated off the ancient trees, creating baseline feedback that was felt more than it was heard. Elbows poked out of the front windows like orcs' ears, and the twang of bluegrass banjos seeped over them into the night. Inside, a woman and a man, two men, were crammed together on the cracked vinyl bench seat, their faces barely visible in the soft glow of the dashboard instruments. An undercurrent tension pulsed like a silent alarm. The woman was wedged between the two men. A small package secreted in her bra dug into the side of her breast. She kept her eyes on the road and her mind away from the virtual stranger beside her. He was older than they were, and she could feel death transmitting from him. Maybe not imminent death or her death, but certainly the possibility of death. "Nice night for it," she said. "Keep your mouth shut," replied the stranger. "Hey, you can't talk to me like that." "Shelley," said her fiancé. "All right, Mark," replied Shelley. "Wow, you two really know how to have fun." "One more word and I'll throw you out of the van," said the stranger. "No, you won't. I'm the ass carrying the package, remember?" The van rocked on its chassis as it rounded a sweeping uphill bend. The road had begun its ascent to the mountain pass. The forest had peeled away to reveal steep granite escarpments and cliffs. Suddenly, the rhythmic flash of blue and red lights illuminated the darkness. Sets of headlights and brake lights queued ahead of them. "Shit, what's going on?" "Shut up. I told you I'd toss you out if you keep talking, so shut the hell up." Shelley opened her mouth to say something more. Then she felt a jab in her side. She looked at Mark and saw naked fear in his eyes. The men pulled their elbows back into the van and wound up the windows. Shelley turned the music off. Nothing left of the Joker now. The air inside the van was drenched in adrenaline and smelt like wet metal soaking in a swamp. The van rolled to a stop. "What are you doing, Mark?" "Well, I can't keep going, can I, Shelley? Or do you want me to ram our way through the operatives ahead?" "Will you two shut up?" hissed the stranger. "Or what? What are you going to do now, big man? Who the hell are you anyways?" The red of the flashing lights fed Shelley's volatile temper. Her breathing became bullish, and Mark could almost see horns growing across her forehead and curling around her temples in the interplay of the lights on her face. He had seen Shelley lose herself in anger once before. It hadn't been pretty. Faster than either of them could move, the stranger had his arm wrapped around Shelley's neck with his hand across her mouth. "I swear, I will render you unconscious and dump you in the back of this van if you do not shut the hell up," said the stranger. "Who I am is none of your business. Tap your leg if you understand." Shelley tapped her leg. The stranger let her go. "Okay, but do you have a name at least?" she asked. "Fucking cut it out, Shelley," hissed Mark. "If you must have a name," Shelley nodded, "you can call me JD." "And what does JD stand for?" "Jesus, you just don't quit, will you?" "It stands for John Doe. Mate, I don't know how you put up with this hellion, but I'm sure it has its rewards. Just a damn minute." "Fuck, Shelley, shut up. Both of you shut up. There's movement at the station," said Mark. The night was raw. A dense layer of cloud muffled the light and sound and kept the frigid mountain air from escaping into the night. Beyond the incessant throbbing of the emergency lights, there was only cold, hard rock and hot, loose boughs. People dressed in uniform khaki overalls milled around at the front of the roadblock. They could have been allies, except for their blank faces and the communication devices curled around their ears. Their movements were charged with purpose, even though they ignored the stationary vehicle convoy of their making. They were waiting for something, another one of their kind, a superior perhaps. Like one organism, they looked up into the darkness. Whoop, 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 whoop. You guys feel that? Asked Shelley. Yep, said Mark. It's one of their machines. We're dead. Maybe not yet, but we will be. Once they've taken everything from us, said JD. Well, I'll just chuck the package. JD slammed his arm across Shelley's chest, pitting her against the backrest and crushing her breasts against her ribcage. The sound got louder. The brute impact of it spread from their torsos to their ears, almost breaking their eardrums with the low frequency, high pressure it created. All three of them waited with sick anticipation for the beast of a machine to lower itself into their view. Mark knew he should be doing something, anything at all, to rescue Shelley from JD's aggressions, but he couldn't move. He was paralysed by the sound descending upon them.
Thank you.
Then they'll know we have it, said JD. Right now, they're looking for something. They don't know we have it, but if you throw that package away, they will know. They're not even looking at us. Believe me, they will know. Yeah, but how do you know? Do you think we'd send rawskins like you two out here with someone who hasn't been here before? Then will you please shut your mouth and stay where you are? Well, since you asked so nicely. Geez, Shelley, just stop, would you? Said Mark, speaking out of the corner of his mouth. His skin had taken on a distinct green tinge with each flash of the blue light. He wanted to be far away from this moment, but even if he could move, he wouldn't. He understood the risk more than Shelley. His father had disappeared out here somewhere. Mark hadn't known why his dad had left him and his mum, not until he found a letter hidden in the back of the junk drawer. It was addressed to his mum, but she had never opened it. Mark remembered every single word on that one flimsy page. September 2059. Dear Mrs. Trinity Taylor, Stephen Taylor has been lost. We will not abandon you. Truth Seeker. Mark looked across Shelley towards JD. Was he the Truth Seeker? Mark wondered if his father was still out here somewhere, if he was dead or alive. Perhaps he was about to join him in spirit. He thanked himself for not telling Shelley the real reason he was out here. With that mouth of hers, she couldn't be trusted. Before she could make another retort, the night was obliterated. The three revolutionaries scrambled to cover their eyes from the flying machine's luminescent landing lights. The light encapsulated them, pushing into their eyeballs no matter how they tried to block it out. The weight of sound and light was torturous and entirely overwhelming. The operatives beyond the roadblock weren't affected by any of it. They geared up and began moving, as one, with purpose. Mark felt the strangest feeling inside his body, a ball of plasma growing in his belly and dropping down into his genitals. From the smell that arose, he knew he'd released some of that heat into the van. Was this what his father felt? The machine landed. The ground beneath the van undulated as it settled onto its landing gear. The night returned, pulsing blue and red. Somehow, the silence and the red and blue flashes were more unnerving than the sight and sound of the machine descending. They could feel it in the air. Something was coming. Someone was coming. Or were they? Now the machine had docked, it remained silent and still. The operatives had resumed their stillness and silence in sympathy with the steel beast. Maybe this has nothing to do with us, said Shelley. Maybe we're just caught up in something that has nothing to do with us. I don't know, Shell. Why here? Why now? I think you're shooting at stars, babe. I think they're here for me, said JD. What the hell do you mean? Said Mark. They were all speaking through their lips, their eyes locked forward. They didn't want any attention. I'm the package. You're what? Then what the hell am I carrying? You're the decoy, said JD. Are you telling me I could have thrown this thing, that I could have gotten out and walked away at any time? I would have killed you if you tried. Wait, are you the truth seeker? Asked Mark. JD broke their suspended state and glared at Mark over the top of Shelley's head. What do you know? He asked. Well, nothing. Well, something, but nothing really. They wrote to my mum when Dad disappeared. Years ago. I've been trying to find him. My dad, I mean. And maybe the truth seeker too, if they're real, said Mark. I know of them. I was to be delivered to them eventually. You two are only the first link in my chain, said JD. It's a pity you're only revealing this now, Mark. If I had found out earlier, I could have spared you and Shelley from what the operatives were going to do to you. Shelley turned her head towards JT. She was smiling at him, a big, juicy grin, triumph shining from her eyes. He felt something pressed against his side. He knew he couldn't save himself. Mark! Shelley activated the electroshock weapons hidden beneath her jacket. One pressed against JD's side, the other pressed against Mark's. The men began to convulse, bouncing against the inside of the van, their limbs rigid and spasmodic, their eyes rolled upwards, thin lines of drool shining on their lips. A communication device sprung from her cranium, curled around her ear, linking her into the operative's hive. The package is secure.